I'm Lily.
And I'm Jordan.
And we are the Drakes.
Welcome to Drake Academy. On today's episode of Drake Academy, we're going to recount our experience from this weekend's The Boyle tournament. You've heard us talking about it for a while, and we finally got to do it, and we had an interesting time. I'd say mostly fun, but there's some interesting moments. We'll then go into our main topic for today, which is we're going to answer 5 more common coaching questions that we get before finally we're going to take some audience questions as well. And then we'll wrap it up with a meta breakdown of the said Boyle event. Before we get started, of course, we'll have a word from our sponsors. Also, kind of note, we did change our camera lens for this. So if it looks a little different, maybe it looks a little weird, we're experimenting with the new lens. If we don't get it right the first time, sorry guys, we'll try to get it right the second time. So it looks just a little blurry or something, we're going to continue to work with it. But it looks good on the screen, so I'm thinking we're good. And let's roll the sponsors. For events coming up, we plan to be at Misplay on the Lake, April 18th in Ohio. We're really looking forward to this event. It's looking like it's going to be a diamond level event. It's almost maxed out at the time of this recording. So if you haven't gotten your ticket yet, go ahead and do so because we're going to be there. We're excited. We're going to have quite a bit of the team there as well. Ohio is kind of the stomping grounds for a lot of the Monolith players. And shockingly, a lot of the CEDH players. Midwest is just kind of the region for CEDH right now. So we're definitely excited for it. I think it's going to end up being a great turnout, great event, and hope to see you there. We're also, of course, sponsored by Animal House Cards through our sponsorship with Team Monolith. So if you want to pick up singles or other cool rare cards, definitely check out their TCG player. We'll put it in the description below. They're also going to be hosting the Horizon event. This will be part of their series that they've got going. So be on the lookout for more information on that. And of course, like always, we're sponsored by Heavy Play. So you can go to heavyplay.com/monolith or use code monolith when checking out for 10% off your order. The products are really good. We're really, really happy with it. You probably saw me carrying, if you were at the Boyle, you probably saw me carrying around the entire setup all weekend long. I've got my dice box, my deck box, both snapped together to my playmat, and I just carry that around. I don't carry around a backpack or anything else. And it's super convenient because I'm usually also lugging around the big old camera that's recording this episode. So, really awesome, really nice products. They just released a new art series. I'm planning on picking up this dragon that I'll put up on screen. This is probably going to be my next playmat. It's pretty sick.
Shocking.
I mean, not only is it a dragon, which if anyone doesn't know, I love dragons. Absolutely love and adore dragons. But it's also in red and blacks, which is kind of cool. So it ends up being Monolith colors. We're definitely excited to continue to work with Heavy Play. It's been an awesome partnership, and we're going to continue to work with them. So we finally got to do the Boyle, and there's a bunch of different events kind of broken into the Boyle. Mm-hmm. The big one for me, there are 2 big ones. Obviously, the main event, shocker, right? But we also got to do the team event, and I was really looking forward to this one because it was, get to showcase Team Monolith's skill as players and see if we could, beat the other teams. Overall, a good weekend, I'd say. Didn't quite go the way we wanted it to. Lily and I bubbled out at 17th for Lily and 20th for me. We both had 14 points, and the cut for this event was 15, which is already very low for a 7-round cut to 16 tournament for 200 plus players.
There were so many draws. The draws through rounds 2 through 5, I'd say, were pretty insane.
Yeah.
And par for the course, round 6 and 7, people started trying to win. Shocker, right? Win and ends get 1.
I was trying to win all day. Just wasn't happening. Yeah. I got trick binded, which was a very frustrating experience because
twice. Not once, but twice.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I mean, the second one wasn't as bad because I still won. The first one was really frustrating because I outplayed everybody that game. I played it perfectly. Mm-hmm. The only card in all of existence that could have stopped me in that moment was trick bind. So to go down that way was extraordinarily frustrating. Because other than that, I had a handful of interactions still. Mm-hmm. I was, sitting on all these tools and things that I could do. Mm-hmm. And it's just not a card that TNT plays around very well.
No.
If you're playing against a breach deck, trick bind is worthless, which is why it doesn't see a ton of play, because if you're playing against those decks, they just laugh. If you're playing against a deck like mine,
As I say, with more and more Thrasios decks out there.
But not even most Thrasios decks, right? If you do it to Rock Thrust, they just breach on you. You know?
If they're on breach.
Most of them nowadays are on breach.
Yeah.
It's just breach is just too good not to be.
Fair.
But like uniquely, TNT, every single TNT win condition can be hit by Trick Bind. Mm-hmm. Every single one. I was thinking about this after the fact. And it was just like, you know.
The one card that can stop you does stop you, of course.
Every time, bro.
Yeah.
And that was the story of this weekend for me. It was like every time I had a good plan developing or going, I got hit with like absolute nonsense. My 2 wins, one came because 2 players killed themselves. They went after each other and basically died.
Sure.
Well, okay, I shouldn't say they basically killed themselves. I killed them both. But they both necro and nosed on each other to try and stop each other. And I ended up flashing a Bowmaster to kill the necro player. And then the Oz player played Final Fortune, but I had the Horn Oculus down, and I had a Ranger Captain under it. So when he went to do his thing, I flipped the Ranger Captain up.
I felt so bad for that man. So bad. First of all, love you. I wanted the Malcolm Viles reanimate to resolve, and I wanted Glinthorn to resolve.
I wanted it to resolve. He died. He had 3 life. He put it on the... That was a whole judge call that we don't really need to get too deep into.
Oh, that was a whole judge call.
It was like 40-minute judge call, it felt like.
You're right, yeah.
Because he put a reanimate on his Glinthorn and then tried to take it back, but after other spells had already gone on the stack.
Yeah.
And after he'd made the comment out loud, thank you for counting this, I would have died otherwise. And so the judges made him like basically go back to what we all know is going to be the Glinthorn target. Like,
sure.
I don't know.
Sure.
You know, it was like one of those weird situations where it's like, oh, well, I didn't technically declare target. Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of insinuations. And we should have just slowed it down so he could pick a target and we could all be like, oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, we all knew it was Glinthorn.
Yeah.
You had Malcolm on the board. You were trying to go for a win. You were at 3 life. The next turn, my important Oculus just murders you. You know what I mean? Like, you're dead. So, yeah. It was kind of funny. The whole thing was funny, but killed both of them with those tricks. And then, the Kinnan player trick binded
your candle.
My candle.
But if they trick bind your Thrasios, you don't win again.
No, I still win.
I think they got impatient.
I think I still win, actually.
Okay.
I had a meal under one of them. So
you had enough Oculuses, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
You find a way around that.
Well, because I had a meal, it made everything easy because all I do is flicker the Thrasios. I have to spend 7 mana to do it, but I had like 60 mana.
True.
I had an ungodly amount of mana that game. I had like 15 creatures, Enduring Vitality up, and Cradle, plus the Candelabra, plus the Cloud of Fairies, plus a clone for Cloud of Fairies. Like, and Deserted Temple.
That's disgusting.
We were cooking.
Hate that.
Plus, I think I had the Biobane on the board too, so it was just like churning through the deck to find answers. So, like, if he hits my Thrasios, I just flip up a meal, flicker Thrasios, and keep going.
That's fair.
Which is why it wasn't like as brutal, but it was just like hitting the Candelabra was like
twice. I'm seeing this card again.
Well, I just kind of rolled my eyes and I was like, whatever. Like, I've got Cloud of Fairies. Like, we're fine. But it was just like...
That's fair.
A frustrating moment. But he didn't even wait for my Cloud of Fairies. As soon as I put Cloud of Fairies on the stack, he's like, all right, cool, I scoop. I was like, okay. He's like...
Valid reaction.
He's like, you're going to get there eventually. And I was like, yeah, probably.
Valid reaction.
Like, what are the odds I just hit nothing but lands for the next 20 cards? Probably not happening, right?
No.
So, yeah, my day was a little frustrating from that perspective. Like I said, a lot of weird games. Like, I got my cat mental misstepped, which almost never happens. And after a Deafening Silence came down, and a Deafening Silence that I think only hurt the other 3 players. And it was a Rogthras that countered that mental misstep my cat. Mm-hmm. I don't understand why he didn't mental misstep the Deafening Silence. Because the Deafening Silence, I get it from some degree, right? Oh, well, I get to play on all my creatures and no one can do anything. Mm-hmm. But also, I don't know. It's just weird, right? Like, Deafening Silence creates weird games because no one can push. So you just all end up sitting around, which means no one gets to win, which means that we all draw.
Right.
The only person that was pushing was Rocco, the person who played the Deafening Silence. So, like, if I'm a Rock Dress and I want to be super proactive and dunk on these people, I'd probably just counter the Deafening Silence. At least in my head. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but I thought that was weird. But that game completely screwed me because it was going to be turn 1 Cat to turn 2 Timna into turn 3 Copying Cat with Springhheart and Tuco, and I was going to get 3 cats on that one turn so that when I went to end step, I was going to get a ridiculous amount of cats. And then had like the city's blessing. And by turn 4, I would have the cradle online with like 15 cats. And I feel like I'm rolling at that point. But I never got to that point because losing the cat meant that I went to turn 2 with my Timna. Didn't have a way to even swing Timna. So by the time I went to turn 3 to even start swinging Timna,
right.
People had already developed blockers. And I didn't have like a 1/1 for striking cat to get through it all.
Yeah, you've been outpaced at that point.
I didn't do anything that game. I sat there with a handful of interaction by the end of it. Like I just spent my demonic tutor on a piece of interaction. I think even by the end because it was like I'm out of this game, and even a Ristic study doesn't help because the Rocco's just no one's pushing except Rocco, so no one's being fed.
It's that type of game.
Yeah, it was a dumb game.
It's that sit there type of game.
It was a dumb game. I got in round 1 by a stupid play that drew the game. I got turn 2'd in round 7. And I didn't even get to play. Like, I played a tropical island on my turn 1, and then I did not see turn 2, and brutal.
That is brutal. I saw you stand up really quickly. I was
very frustrated by that game because it's also that's what the 3rd win in a row.
We've just been turn 2'd.
Where I've been turn 2'd. Like I did not see a turn 2 in the last 3 win-ins that I've played.
Right.
Which is frustrating, but like, what can you do? I did not have a good hand either. We all except for the player who won, the Iron Man player, mold low. So it was like we were all probably. I had a good hand for going down to 5 because I think Rockstars went to 4, Rockside went to 4, I went to 5. Iron Man kept first 7 and then won on turn 2.
Cooked.
Had the nuttiest hand I've ever seen.
Cooked.
Like,
yeah.
Like that was after getting turn 2'd by Kidden a couple weeks ago.
Right.
With also the nuttiest Kidden I've ever seen. And then getting turn 2'd by... Who turn 2'd me at the other tournament? I don't even remember. At the wrap-up. Yeah, it was a wrap-up. Whatever tournament I did before where I got win and end on turn 2. And I was like, oh, well. That was Rockside.
Okay, well, at least Rockside, we expect that.
Yeah.
We'll take those from Rockside. I'm giving you a pass on that one.
Yeah, Kidden and Iron Man was not...
Yeah, that's not...
expected.
Yeah, that's not on your list of what's going to turn to you.
Yeah. So frustrating. I'd say that part was frustrating, and coming in 20th was frustrating, especially when I tried to convince it's so funny. I sat down at round 7. They all said, hey, can we all agree on a winner? And I said, actually, I've been doing the math. I think 15 gets in. So I was like, I'm not going to accept a win, or I'm not going to accept like somebody has to win because I do think a draw potentially gets me there, which I'm going to play for win. But I'm not just going to give somebody the game, I think, at this point. Sure. Also because of, like, I don't know. I felt like 15 was good. Like, I really felt like 15 was going to get in. And it did. Like, all the 15s got in.
The fact that I was 17th.
Yeah, but you were 17th with 14, so
I don't care.
I think it feels better.
Nothing makes it better. No.
Losing out on...
You're coping for me. It's okay.
Losing out on breakers is so much worse. That is I needed a whole other point somewhere in the day, which is like, it's easy to say, yes, I could have got that extra point. But it is more frustrating to lose on breakers because you have 0 control over your breakers.
While I agree you have 0 control over your breakers, I think it all feels bad. I do not see a distinction in my head for those. The bubble is the bubble, regardless of it's the bubble because of 40.2 or 0.3 or 14 or 15. The bubble's the bubble and it feels shit.
I disagree because... If I have needed 1 extra point, that means I needed a draw somewhere where I lost. And that just means I just didn't get it, right? Like I just didn't get the points, which is fine. Breakers feel so much worse because you have no control over them. Like if you feel like you're safe going in and then you lose out because of breakers, breakers are out of your control. I can't control who I played and who my opponents were and how they did the rest of the day. So like I'm being at the mercy of a system that is out of my control. Points are in your control. Percentages outside of your control. And I know the argument, right?
It all feels bad.
Yeah.
There's no distinction. This is distinction without like difference in my head or however the saying goes. But I mean, I thought I played solidly, all things considered, right? Like round 1 was, I started in a 3-pod, which is awful for Malcolm Vile, right? We hate to see that because it turns off our best combo. But we just ended up pre-game drawing, and it was Zeke, and the player's name is escaping me now, but somebody else I think I had talked to before. I'd need to go on Top Deck and look at their name, but yeah, I was against a Rogthras and a Rogashai in that pod. There was going to be no chance. So we just kind of agreed to draw with the understanding like, hey, this will get us out of the 3-pod zone. This will put all of us with a point on the board. Plenty of Magic to play. Let's just move on. Sure, fair enough. Round 2, I had a Lively Dirge win against a Rogthras, a second Rogthras.
I feel like it's a lot of rock this.
What was the third? I want to say the third commander was an Esper pile. I think it was Yasholta. Yashtola? Yashtola.
The 4-drop one, right?
Yes. So Rogthras, and an Esper player. And so Rogthras opened with a fish. We talked it out, agreed, fish packed. Nobody fed the fish, but I could tell the other Rogthras player was getting really antsy. So then on my turn 2, I said, hey, let me blow up the fish, because Rogthras on their second turn threw out a bunch more mana. And it's like, I could tell the other Rogthras was getting antsy. I had rocks I wanted to play, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to blow up this fish. If somebody can defend it, that'd be cool, because I feel like we're just losing here, and I kind of want you two to develop. So blow up the fish, Rogthras player fights back, Rogthras 1 fights back, Esper player defends. Cool, we exist without the fish. I developed turn 2 Malcolm, and I think that's the turn where I top decked the Dirge, and then go into my turn. Esper player taps out for Rhystic. Rogthras develops a mana, but has no has no responses, and then other Rogthras player feeds the Esper player, but they don't find interaction. I cast Dirge, I win. I think there was a Spell Seeker to get a Pact to try to force a draw, but I had backup, so I just said no. Why would I draw here? I have backup. Game 3 was Rogthras. Not Rogthras. No, I think it was Rogthras, Derevi. That's wrong. Rogthras, Yoshithras, Derevi. And also, same thing. I won with a Lively Dirge, except in this hand, there was no backup. It was just kind of a raw Lively Dirge, let's throw it out there hand. And it was another situation like game 2 where nobody kept interaction, and several of the other 2 players mulled low, so had to leave up extra mana to activate Glinthorn because everybody had blockers and all green pod, as you would imagine. So that was that game. Round 4 was Itali, Corbin on blue farm, and another blue farm player, and I was in seat 4, and we just pregame agreed to draw because we were pod 1, and we just wanted to go get food or something. Round 5 was our game, and that's on stream. We know how she ended. We know what that pod was.
Annoying is the best word for it. Lily's a terrorist.
Jordan's a terrorist.
I was trying to win. You should let the Culling Route resolve.
0 chance in hell that's happening. I'm never letting a Culling Route from you resolve.
The Grand Abosh from Stacko just chased the entire game.
Stacko's a terrorist for going GA pass. That's the real terror move there.
No, the Heartwood Storyteller was the real.
Mm-hmm. There were a lot of problems that weren't me in that game. That's all I'm saying.
My hand wasn't great that game though either. Like, I had already mulled low, and I think I kept like a okay hand that wasn't great.
It sounds like you kept a lot of interaction.
I kind of had to for that pod. It was just a weird pod because I know Stacko's a jammer,
right?
And you're gonna jam, and I assumed Dima was gonna be jamming,
right?
I didn't realize they're more of a control.
I didn't know,
or whatever. I
didn't know what that was on. Yeah,
I didn't really understand the deck.
Yeah, me either.
Like, I've seen Dima before, but they're almost always Turbo Hulk,
right?
So playing Heartwood Storyteller, I wasn't really sure what the.
And the collector roof too. I was like, wait, why are we getting stacks? Why are you not just grabbing Hulk and keeping it pushing?
That's what I'm saying.
Why are you making me fight you?
It's very stacksy, very. I don't know. It was like a very stacksy, very.
Just slower build.
Yeah.
Not just turbo slam Hulk like I expected.
And that's what I expected. And that's why I kept specific interaction for Turbo Hulk.
No, that's fair. That's super fair.
But
I don't think I kept interaction at all. I'm gonna be so honest with you. And I think our hands are on the stream, so you can go back and fact check me on the stream.
Greedy, knowing what Stacko's gonna do.
Dude, I mulled to like 4 or 5. You know what I mean? Like, I kept early Lightning Rig Crew and Necro. It was just like, I'm gonna make some mana, I'm gonna cast a Necropotence. And we never even got to the point of casting the Necropotence.
Yeah.
Because of everything going on.
That was a very annoying game.
That was our game. I mean, when you keep a bunch of interaction, Stacko jams, I mean, doesn't even jam. Stacko jams a GA. We get a Heartwood Storyteller, and
He would have jammed if I didn't have the interaction for him.
I mean, yeah, true. That game just kind of leads to a natural draw with the hands we had to keep. Yeah, then round 6, I lost to Rog Ishai, which was, I'd say that was probably my only truly like frustrating game, just because I felt like all of my pieces kept getting, not well. I mean, they kept getting interacted with, but people were very fearful of what I was doing when there was a player with 3 Ristic Studies and another player with a Ristic Study and a Bowmasters. So it was just kind of like, what am I really doing in this game that's going to do anything, right? I mean, I can go for Glinthorn, but with all the Ristic Studies, you blow up my Malcolm before I have the Glinthorn.
Yeah.
I can try to go for a Necro. My life total's going to get nuked. I can go for Breach. I have to breach into 3 Rustic Study. You know what I mean? Like, let's be so honest. But it was fine. We got outvalued by the 3 Rustic Studies.
Shocker.
It'd be that way. And then game 7 was my only natural draw in time, where the very stormy Rogthras variant, John Vick's Rogthras variant, could not get to a win in time. I think he found his last piece of the puzzle with somewhere like less than a minute or something remaining in the, like, it was pretty quickly after he found that last piece that the judge called it. And so because there was no real win presented, and because I'm not really the like concede to nothing type player, it was just kind of, yeah, this is a natural draw. So I was on the bubble, but I did the best I could in every game. Only lost 1 game at a massive tournament like this, so we'll take it for what it is, right?
Was he trying to get you to concede?
No, he didn't ask.
Okay.
But I mean, it did cross my mind, like maybe this is the sportsman situation thing to do, just kind of say like, hey bro, you said you found the last piece, I'll concede to you. But he didn't put the other part of it on the stack, and there was no loop on the stack. And so at the point where there's no loop and you're saying you still got to do a couple things, I'm not gonna concede on that just to concede on that, you know?
Right.
So
that makes sense. Yeah. But the cool part was our buddies Eric and Zeke from the team both made it to top 16. And then I know Eric had a very frustrating top 16 experience, and ultimately didn't get there. But Zeke did win his top 16 game, so he top 4'd. So we got to put a monolith player in the top 4, which was cool.
We did.
And then to put the cherry on top, Zeke did take down the whole thing and has unseated me as the Boyle champion. So he's now the Boyle 3 champion.
We have the Boyle 2 champion and the Boyle 3 champion on Monolith. Crazy work.
Yes, but now the Boyle 2, here's the Boyle 2 champion that jokes can die.
No,
right?
You're still the Boyle 2 champion.
Right, but they can die. It's been a year.
They don't have to die.
It's been over a year.
Actually. Now we can clown on you and Zeke. There's just more jokes to go around. It's lovely.
No.
What would Eric say? Jokes as a treat.
I'm not amused.
You get Boyle 2 jokes as a treat.
I'm not amused. Anyway, so that was really cool. We got to celebrate as a team. Really exciting moment for the team. I think we were all living vicariously through Zeke.
Oh, yeah.
It was an awesome experience. Got to do a lot of cool team photos, and our director of design and marketing is working on those right now. So those are going to look great. I bought a new camera lens, as you know, from Evan. And
shout out Freedom Waffle.
Yeah, it gave me a pretty good deal on this, and the lens has been awesome. I've been really happy with it and getting to use it. So that's been cool. And then the team event. So I want to talk a little bit about the team event. It got super scuffed, which is a little disappointing because it was a cool concept. I still think there's a lot of merit to it. Yeah, unfortunately, the judges didn't know that you have to manually pair because the 16 players, because Top Deck doesn't do teams. So the judges didn't know, and then by the time we told them, they'd already screwed it up, and things got messy, and we just ended up doing 2 rounds, cutting to the top 4, and just each team nominating a champion, I think, to the top 4. Mm-hmm. And Dallas won, so technically Monolith did win the team event. Technically,
super technically.
Not even super technically. I mean, we did. We had the most points.
We did.
But we didn't play all the rounds, so that's where the technically comes in.
Yeah.
And there were some interesting rules, like the time chips thing. I know some people were really mixed on it. Some people liked it, the idea. Some people hated it. Mm-hmm. I personally kind of liked it in that it did cut conversations down. There was a couple moments where we got a little circular. We threw the time chips in. I don't think it works for Swiss because it's impossible to police.
Yeah.
But for top 16 games, if we're trying to get under that 3 hours and we're trying not to just give it to seat one all the damn time, the time chips probably would work to some degree. Yeah. I know there's some issues with like pre-politicking the time chips, like getting people to use theirs.
Sure.
And like Stacko and I probably lost game one because we didn't use it. Because I didn't want to throw one in so early, but we could have had more of a conversation about what we were doing. So there's like options all the way around that we were talking about. But yeah, I think overall, I think there's potential there. I think the team event's probably more interesting to most people than the creator event. Because most people aren't creators. They're just not. And they're never going to be. And they have no desire to ever be. And I can tell you guys, it's a ton of fucking work. So like... Ugh.
True.
Yeah, between videoing and editing and
Cue me making shorts at work sometimes on my lunch break.
Yeah.
He'll be like noon and it's like, okay, and we build an hour, let's go open our laptop, make a little short, and we're back to the law.
I'm usually making last minute edits to these videos before we release them during my lunch break. I always release these during my lunch hour whenever I take it.
Yeah.
So like it's a lot. It's a lot of work. So not everyone wants to do that. But getting 3 of your friends together and making a team, very easy to do. So I think it's more appealing because more people can apply to be on it and do it. But we'll see. I mean, maybe Wayne decides to go in a different direction with it. I do appreciate the fact he let us attempt it. It was cool. I think, like I said, I think it's very easy to fix the couple issues that came up.
Yeah.
You know, we can drop the time chips from future events too, or we could continue to try and test them and see if there's a way to make them work better. But
I mean, the first iteration of anything is going to be rough, right? Like, now you know it works, you know it doesn't work. You've tested out the time chips. Maybe you revise the time chips, maybe you don't. They certainly know what to do about pairings now. So it is what it is, and you do better the next time, you know?
Agreed. But yeah, overall, fun experience. We got to explore New Orleans a little bit. Got to go onto Bourbon Street and goof off and got some good food. So
much good food.
Got to see a lot of fun people. So overall, good experience. And got to talk to a lot of our fans. So if you came up and said hi to us, really, we appreciate it and thank you.
Yeah. I got to sign somebody's Glinthorn Buccaneer. That was like one of the highlights of my weekend. Insert picture of Glinthorn here, right? That was 10 out of 10.
Yeah, I think I take a couple pictures, signed a couple play mats. So overall, pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right. So with that, we can jump into our main discussion. So for the bulk of our discussion today, we wanted to revisit a segment that we did before. I think the segment that kind of kicked things off, right? So once in a while, we're just going to kind of take a pause from going through kind of the content that we've got scheduled, and we're just going to answer more common coaching questions that we're seeing. So we answered 5 ones when we kicked off the channel, and today we're back to answer 5 more common coaching questions we get. So let's go ahead and do our first most common coaching question that we get. And that is how to avoid draws. I might be the worst person to ask for this. Apparently, as I found out earlier today, we're filming this on April Fool's Day. So found out that I am 8th in the world when it comes to draws.
And I'm 25th in the world when it comes to draws.
So apparently,
somehow.
So apparently we suck.
We're not the best people to ask for this, I guess. I don't know.
Thing is, I feel like I feel like Marnius really skews my results because I had a lot of draws on that. I had at one point when I was playing Marnius, I had more draws than I had wins and losses combined.
That feels about right. TNT draws a lot.
It does, but it also
draws a lot.
But it also wins a lot. It just doesn't lose very often because the deck is so grindy that it slows people down, and I either win or I draw. So like sure, but not in the same way. Marnius would not win, so it was just like 4 draws and 2 losses.
I mean, I've said it before. That's why I got out of my Blue Farm era. Was I just kind of started to draw games more often than win them. So it just I got bored of that, and I went back to Grixis, where you win or you don't. Yeah,
and I mean so when you want to avoid draws, there's a few things you can do. One is you can just run Turbo. Turbo is really good at avoiding draws. That's why you'll notice most of the Turbo players not on that list.
Yeah,
they're just there to jam wins. So that's generally the best way if you're like, I don't want to draw, I don't want to ever be in a draw situation. Turbo's kind of like the best way to get around that because you're either going to win or you're going to blow yourself out and probably lose. Even then, I see most turbo players, they jam win and then they draw. Like that's kind of been the meta lately.
Right. So. They'll jam into the wristic or the fish.
Right.
They won't get there because they'll get interacted with, and then it's like, hey guys, can we draw? They have 20 cards.
Well, I wonder if that's why it's skewing certain results against certain players. If you notice, most of the players are rather newer or didn't play a lot of Dockside during the Dockside era.
I didn't notice that. That's a fair point.
Like I think about that, like a lot of the players that I was looking at in like the top 30 were not. Because I feel like Dockside was one of those cards where you slam it and you win.
Yeah.
I didn't play Dockside almost at all. I played a little bit of Turbo Nagila towards the end of the Dockside era, but not very long, like probably 4 months before the bans. And then I did like a I did one tournament on Niv Visit, and then that was it. So, yeah, I wonder, like, if you were to take the draw meta post-ban, like draw numbers post-ban, I'd love to see that. Like, I know this is an April Fool's thing and it's mostly a joke, but like, I'd actually like to see the numbers because I bet you they're a little bit more skewed as well.
I'm sure they're higher.
Yeah.
I think people have talked about it before. I've seen the discourse floating around on Twitter. I'm pretty sure it's higher.
Yeah. But I think, yeah, I mean, Turbo decks, generally, Turbo wins or loses. I think you can be aggressive with your politicking too if you're like, I'm going to sit down at the table and say, I'm not going to draw. No matter what the circumstance is, I want to be very clear up front at the beginning, I'm not going to draw this game.
Yep.
I think that's a very valid strategy. I know players like that who've used that pretty effectively. I mean, I know some players who just do not draw, like ever.
Yeah.
We have some local players that are very, very, like, they just don't draw games.
Yeah, very much you stop me or you don't. You know, if you're using your interaction on me, okay, interact with me. And if we lose to the next person, we lose to the next person. It is what it is. Yeah. I respect that, honestly. I've had dedicated tournaments where that's what I've said.
Yeah.
I'm not drawing.
It sucks because I feel like maybe it's just the nature of TNT where because you do get a scary board, people back you kind of into a corner and they're like, draw or I'm going to feed the game to somebody else. And so you're forced into like more of those situations. So I've wondered if that's part of it too. Like uniquely, I'm just kind of in this weird spot with TNT.
Yeah.
I mean, I know some other TNT pilots were also up there with me. They were pretty high. So maybe it's just nature of playing TNT where it's like your board gets kind of scary and people are just like, I don't want to play anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what happened to me at the midseason, right? I would get the tiniest scary board and people would be like, draw instantly. And I'd be like, at that point, it's not me pushing draws.
Right.
Like, I think that's the problem with that is it the rankings it made it feel like I was the one pushing draws, but I feel like draws are being pushed on me. So again, I don't know. Like this question, honestly, like when I think about like how I get out of draws or like games where I don't want to draw, sometimes I'll just throw it out there and be like, I'm willing to lose. Yeah. Like I'm willing to keep risking this game and see where we are. I think there's been a couple of politicking tricks that I've used though, effectively. One, and it's my buddy Zeke taught me this, and it's I'm not willing to take a draw here because I don't want to just give this person a free push, right? Like if the three of us are going to agree we're going to draw and this person's going to continue to push, there's no reason for me to take a draw and say I'm willing to draw and let this person continue to do their free push. And if they don't get there, they go, oh, well, whatever.
Yeah.
Right? Like I want to be able to punish them for continuing to push the game.
Like if you give me 20 cards.
Right, then I'm going to try and win.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Not you can feed me 20 cards and I'm just going to sit here with my thumb up, you know.
Yeah, I'm just going to sit here and draw after you get to push. Well, now I'm going to get to push then.
Right, and I think that's pretty effective at pushing people out of either attempting or pushing them into like kind of a premature draw. Mm-hmm. One trick I've used a lot too is I'll point at who I think is the most dangerous player at the table and be like, they're not incentivized to draw. And this works like 80% of the time. Where the person's like, yeah, I'm not incentivized to draw. It actually worked in our game, in our round 5 game. I pointed at the Dema player and said he's not willing to draw. And the Dema player...
Well, then at the end he said, no, I'll draw. And you're like, oh.
Well, initially he said he wouldn't draw, though, so it worked the first time. When I said it the second time, he's like, no, I'm good to draw here. And I was like, oh, well. But I was trying not to draw that game. So, I feel like that's it. There's also, and we'll kind of talk about this, there's like a CEDH players want to rip everything onto the board as fast as possible. And I don't know that that's always necessarily correct, right? Because in a 4-player game, depending on how the pod comp and everything else, like there's a lot of factors that go into it. But sometimes you're almost better slow rolling just a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Not a lot. Not enough to like hamstring yourself. Like we're not going to waste mana and stuff and game actions. But I don't want to be super scary right away. Like, could I drop something scary turn 3? Sure. Maybe I drop something less scary and let the game continue to progress and let somebody else kind of take the heat. And that way I can kind of turn the corner and go boom, 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 boom. And people don't necessarily feel like they have to push me into a draw state very quickly.
That's fair.
I've noticed that most games where I draw, it's like I went really quickly and developed this crazy board, and then everyone 3v1 me and into a draw.
That's fair.
You know?
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've got any advice for the audience.
It's really hard because I feel like in the decks that I play, I make myself table enemy really quickly, and in Grixis, just by virtue of being Grixis, there's not much slow rolling I can do where people aren't gonna point at me and say, "Hey, that deck goes faster than me," and then push me into the situations where when I do something proactive, they stop me, and I'm the one saying, "Okay, well, I'm blown out now," and that person drew a bunch of cards.
Right.
Like, I do think we should draw now, which partially contributes to my draw rate, I think. Just being put in those awkward scenarios where I get stopped, they stop me, we don't want to just hand the game to somebody else. I think in those scenarios, I just kind of default to the I'm not drawing this game kind of logic. Like, I'm not going to draw. If you want to blow yourselves out, blowing up my board and doing what you're going to do to me, that's fine. Just be prepared to lose to this other person then. And that's what I've been doing lately.
Yeah, and I think that's like you have to be kind of prepared to lose if you don't want draws. Like you just, and honestly, we were talking about sometimes it's better just take a loss somewhere early. Like if you're gonna take your loss, take it early. Like sometimes it kind of helps because then it drops you down the rankings a little bit. You can kind of feed on some less experienced players. I don't want to say bad players, but less experienced players that are struggling, having a bad day, and you can kind of start to crawl back into the tournament maybe in a way that you were struggling with before. So I do think there's some logic there. I mean, I've argued it before, right? If you've got 4 draws, like let's say you're in a 7-round tournament, right? And you've got 2 wins, 0 losses, and 5 draws, right? You're better off, and you're better off taking 4 more losses almost,
right?
And to get that extra win because it's still an extra point, which is kind of crazy. Like when you look at it from that perspective, so
it's like you'd rather convert those draws. If you bet on your deck or bet on your strategy or what have you, and you turn 2 of those draws into wins, but you have 2 more losses, your points are still going to be higher.
Right. There's an idea about being really aggressively pushing your wins forward. Not aggressively like you're politicking aggressively, but like I'm willing to be a little bit more risky knowing that I could lose this game if it means I'm going to gather more wins in the process. I think there's a few players I know that are like that where they play very aggressively. For me, my record is exactly right now 108, 100, 100, which means that I basically, whatever happens in all my games, right?
Yeah.
Like, more often than not, I'm drawing or winning, which is good. Is that 33% of the time where I'm losing, right? But I'm trying to get that 100 draws to be more wins. But I think, like, at the end of the day, I think, I mean, when I really think about it, it's like pushing aggressive wins, almost pre-game politicking, saying, I'm not going to draw this game. I will not draw. Do not ask me. It's not going to happen. Or just being like, guys, I'm here to play Magic. I really don't want to draw. We'll play out the game and see what happens. But, like, I really am just not someone who's going to draw games.
Yeah.
I would rather people just play out their spells and interaction, and wherever it lands, it lands.
And I think part of decreasing your personal draw rate is the type of decks you choose to play, which
it can be. Like, obviously...
I know when we were at the Boil, you mentioned this, that all the Rog Ishai decks just seemed to draw, right? They just seemed to push you into draws.
Well, there's still some that won. We'll talk about that later, but like...
Yeah. So, like, the type of deck and, like, what your strategy is. Like, NBC probably draws a lot because you have, you're smacking down 2 draw engines. People get really scared of you. They force you into draws. Right. Like, stuff like that.
Like, you're not losing a lot on these decks. But converting them to wins consistently can be struggle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I agree. This is a tough one. This is like, out of all the questions that we came up with, this is like the toughest one because it's something that we're still trying to figure out, I think. The format right now really lends itself to draws. I mean, we saw it at the Boil that we just did. 15 points, right? Like, we'll talk about that, but like the cut was super, super low, and it was because so many draws.
Yeah.
And so...
Yeah, I think there were only, 5 pods that had a winner in round 2. ridiculously low number like that. I mean, go back and fact check me, but like some ridiculously low number like that.
Yeah. And so I think that number is going to rise, honestly, because draws are just unavoidable, and players are really the better a player is, the better they are at not losing and figuring out like, oh, where the game is ending naturally. Yeah. I am curious to see if any of the rules changes change that. But like TNT is still TNT. Like people still get very scared of the deck very quickly. And in like Rock Draft, we don't have the ability to like turn the corner so fast on you that people aren't willing to take draws. Plus, yeah, I don't know. There's been some games where I'm not willing to take a draw. I'm not willing to take a draw, and then everyone's like, "Oh, we're gonna force you into it," and I'm like, "Oh well."
That is another shit function of draws. You know, one person says, "Hey, I don't want to draw this," and then it's a 3v1 before anything even starts, and those always just feel bad.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Or in the pods where it'll be like 2 7-pointers and 2 14-pointers.
It's a rough spot to be the 7-pointer, yeah.
The 7-pointer can't draw. The 2 14-pointers say, cool, we agreed to just counterspell everything they do, blow up their board, and then we draw? Oh, sick. Sounds good.
It's tougher than it looks, though, because like if you don't get the interaction you need, I've seen people try that strategy and then just get blown out because they didn't really develop their normal game plan. I think if you're in that situation, you just develop your normal game plan and then screw people up. Yeah, it's tough. Like I said, I think turbo decks, switching to turbo, being a little bit more aggressive pregame about your politicking, and being kind of aggressive with how you go for wins. So, like, maybe sandbagging a little bit of an aggressive start and then really pushing it when you've got a moment, like a window to kind of, like, drive it home. That way you're not being, like, no one's really responding to you in a way that they're like, oh, we're going to force draw, right? It's not like the player's ripping Necro and the guy's like, oh, let me put a breach on the stack and try to win so that the Necro guy doesn't win and we'll draw, right? It's not like that. Yeah. I mean, those do happen, but like you're trying to aggressively push a win in a window where either it's going to let the game continue on after or you're just trying to make it to where there's no opportunity for people to react in a way in which it's going to force a draw. So, yeah. All right, next question. So for our second question, it's going to be how to deal with being the table threat. And this comes in a few different flavors. I think the first one that most people are most familiar with are kind of that mid-range. I've got engines, creatures, blah, 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 right? And I'm clearly in either a dominant or the most dominant board position. The second kind of flavor of that is I'm just turbo. Like, we all know it. Like, to be honest, when you're a turbo deck, you're kind of a table threat when you sit down at the table. As soon as you kind of flip over your commander and it's, a Roxai, a Tali, a Ral, you're the threat. And so when you're playing those decks, I think when you're playing a turbo deck, you kind of have to have the mental fortitude going into it to know I'm the threat from day one or from the minute this game starts. I'm going to be targeted down really quickly because I'm turbo. I'm trying to go fast. And the only way that I'm winning this game is if people mull irresponsibly, don't interact with me properly. And I'm kind of banking on those two things to push through, which means most people are going to find me relatively threatening. And when you're the turbo deck, there's not a lot you can really do, right? Your deck is designed to get under engines. So there's not really a ton of politicking from that perspective. Like, the best thing you can do from a I'm not the table threat is when engines start coming down before you can get under them and just go, guys, I can no longer turbo. Like, I'm just going to play a mid-range game now too. Like, I'm stopped. It's just too much to push into. And that kind of will tell people in the back of their head, like, oh, well, we can just kind of wait and hang out and let him do what he's going to do. Because turbo is really hard to jam. It's kind of like, when I hear a turbo player say I'm out of the game or like I'm not going to be jamming anytime soon, it makes me go, oh, I'm a little bit more free to develop my stuff. And what you're banking on as a turbo player is someone making the mistake of tapping out and then finding a way to like push through or gun for it, or finding like somebody pushes, they get stopped, but there's no more interaction. That's your window to like, okay, now I jam. Yeah. Because I could have always jammed. I'm now waiting for a more opportune window now that mine shut. You don't really have to politic, I feel like, as a turbo deck. Like, you're the table threat. Like, okay, whatever.
I was going to say, one thing that I found effective on Grixis is kind of pointing out what I have and haven't done. So a lot of the times when a lot of damage or a lot of heat is coming my way, I'll just kind of point at my mana base and say, this is not a Necro-Nas mana base. We don't even have double block right now. No rituals in hand. Like, I get it, you're gonna attack me, but like this isn't this game plan. I have a PFB and a Kedis. Like, it's not that type of game.
Yeah.
Or if people really fear the like turn 2, turn 3 Glinthorn, it's like, hey, I haven't even tutored for it. Haven't found my way to it. You guys are safe. So just kind of pointing out, not only because I know we talk a lot about like pointing out other board threats, especially in the mid-range games, but you can also find a lot of help from pointing out your board state and what you have and haven't done.
Right. That's actually a perfect segue to like when you're the mid-range threat. It's very easy for people to point at you and say, "Oh, you're the threat. Count, the number of creatures on his board, or count the amount of cards in hand, or whatever, or the amount of mana they've got." And one thing I've found is it's fine to acknowledge that you're a threat, right? It's fine to say, "Look, I'm scary." Sure, like I'm not going to deny that. We're CEDH. We're all scary. Now, that being said, politicking from the board is just your best answer. We've talked about it a lot on the show. But being able to point at the board and being able to correctly articulate what the scary pieces are, how close people are to winning, and what they need to get there, right? Like that's when I politic, that's what I try to do. Yeah. So like if I'm playing against let me think, like a Rogthras play, right? And they put a Biomancer's Familiar down, and they've got 5 creatures, and then a Finale goes on the stack for 2. Now, this is a very basic example, but like there's no politicking that at that point. You go like, look, guys, he's scary. Like he's trying to jam through his Abora right now. If Abora hits the board, we all lose, and that lets you now. That's put a couple thoughts into people's heads. One, that this person is trying to jam, even if they go, no, like I'm gonna get something else. I'm gonna get other value. It doesn't matter. You've now put the thought that they are 1 card away from winning the game, and they have 1,000 ways to get to that card, and so you've now moved the heat. Let's say you were getting all the heat before that moment. Now it's easy to shift the heat to somewhere else and be like, look, guys, I was never even attempting to win. Like, I'm just building up value still. Like, now there's an attempted win. We should go after the person attempting to win. And if you continue to politic from the board, right, and you're constantly pointing out threats and how those threats are going to win, it's a lot easier to stave off, any hate that comes your way. Doesn't always happen, right? Like, some people are just very blind and blockheaded, and they're going to do what they're going to do, like, no matter what you do. Yeah. And you ran into it this weekend.
Yeah. For sure.
Triple Ristic Study, but they're going to go after you.
Yeah, right. Triple Ristic Study, but Mayhem Devil Curiosity is the problem. But sure, yep. But I mean, that's the thing, right? I was the table threat. I was Grixis, and the other player, the Esper player, was successfully convinced by the Rog Shy player that Grixis was the problem.
Yep.
And it's like, guys, if I have Mayhem Devil Curiosity, we're clearly not trying to turbo anything out.
I mean, you hear them talk. You'll hear Lily tell me a lot or talk about me a lot, where I deflect. And I'm really good at deflecting.
So good at it.
And that's kind of what you're trying to do as the table threat, right? You're never just saying like, hey, I'm not a threat, because that's a lie, right? Like it truly. So I deflect away and say, yeah, I'm scary, but, or yeah, I've got this on board, but look at everything they've got, or look at the 40 cards in their hand, or like, I'm just trying to be, play catch up to this. And TNT is uniquely easy to do that in, but I feel like other decks can as well, right? Like if you're Rogthras and you're playing against the Rocks, the blue farm player who's got 25 cards in hand, well, it's a lot easier than for the Rogthras player to convince the players at the table, hey, I'm just trying to help. I'm good guy. I'm the good guy.
Good guy, Rogthras.
Bad guy, blue farm.
I don't believe that.
But that's kind of the point, right? Is understanding like to avoid being the table threat, you can either sandbag early so you don't have to worry about these things, and then jam all your big powerful pieces through, and then try to push win, or you just politic correctly and constantly assessing and gaining the trust of the table that you're assessing these situations correctly, because then they'll continue to trust you throughout the game, right? Like it's usually easy to point out like, hey, they're doing this and this, and that builds kind of your authority in the game, and then players will naturally gravitate towards someone who's kind of directing traffic a little bit more. And so you say, hey, we've got to counter this, or hey, can you counter this? I don't have anything, or hey, yeah, I'm scary, but like, they're popping off right now. We have to do something about this right now. People are more inclined to follow through on that and help you rather than go, why would I help you at all?
Right.
So this is just like some kind of like little politicking tips and tricks, Jesus, that you can kind of get out of it. A lot of times, though, being the table threat, you just have to be able. There's like a narrow window, I think, when you're the table threat of I'm going to play my pieces and I have to convert them to win before the table has successfully started to work together to dismantle me. And if you don't hit that kind of point in time, right, that's where you start to lose. So that's where you have to be very. A lot of people, I think, just throw down pieces that they have. And there's no real thought behind it. It's just like, ooh, powerful piece, boom. Ooh, powerful piece, boom. But there has to be very deliberate thought in how you are approaching playing out your pieces. Because you remember, this is a 4-player game, right? This is not 60 card where playing out your powerful pieces is usually the correct play. Sometimes you have to hold stuff in reserve to make yourself seem less scary than you are, right? If you have a deck that can develop really quickly in one turn, right? Like, let's say you just need a mana advantage. So you play out a couple mana advantage creatures, pass turn, it's like, whatever, right? But then let's say you try to play a Smothering Tithe into like 3 Heuristic Studies. Well,
That's going to get countered.
It might get countered, but more importantly, does it make you into the table threat, right? People do seem to equate mana advantage on board is more scary than cards in hand. I don't know that I necessarily agree with that because cards in hand can equal a mana advantage, especially in certain decks.
Yeah.
With decks like Roxai or Blue Farm, rituals and rocks make it very easy to quickly go from 0 to 100. Rockdass and the Cloud of Fairies loops and stuff like that can also go from 0 to 100. So it's not always necessarily true, but Smothering Test is a scary Magic card. So, but you just have to be really careful about how you go about it.
Yeah, I think a small example that I tend to do in my deck is Cavern of Souls is one of the last lands that I will play on a winning turn, right? I know, unless it's a low mulligan and it's like Cavern Ragavan and that's the only land I have, right? Like if we're down bad, we're down bad. But generally, if I can help it, Cavern is one of the last lands that I will play when I'm either trying to win with Glinthorn and trying to have it be uncounterable, or I'm just like completely out of land drops.
Right.
Just because people see uncounterable pirate and they instantly think the Glinthorn is coming after. And so no matter what I say, even if I haven't tutored, don't have it, whatever, Malcolm's probably getting nuked. Yeah. So that's kind of a small example of how you can just strategically hold stuff back to not look like you're pushing when you really aren't pushing, so you don't catch a lot of table heat.
Right. Yeah. It's tough. This is a tough topic and a tough question, but hopefully these tips and tricks help you navigate these situations and push other people to be the table threat.
Okay, so for our third question, we commonly get asked a lot, when do I share information with other players at the table?
This is a toughie.
Yeah.
These are a lot of tough questions actually today.
And I think you and I have kind of gone over this before in a previous episode, but there is a certain amount of information exchange that goes on at a CEDH table. And on one hand, you want to keep your hand and you want to keep your cards to yourself as much as possible because those are your accrued resources and you don't want other people to be privy to your accrued resources. So, you don't become the table threat or people see that you don't have any interaction and then you just lose to the turbo deck, right? So there's a certain amount of, this is my hand, this hand needs to be kept secret, I'm not sharing information. On the other hand, especially when we get into these heavy political mid-range games, a lot of the times you'll hear players say, hey, show me that you don't have a piece of interaction. Show me, I'm not going to counter this until you show me that you don't have a way to deal this. And then at that point, depending on what you have and depending on your level of comfort with what's going on, right? Because if you think you're being priority bullied, you're not showing somebody your hand. You know what I mean? But depending on the context of it, then you can either say, okay, yeah, I have a piece of interaction here, I can probably help out, but the person that's asking for help is Blue Farm with a Heuristic Study and a fish. So how much do I really want to reveal? Right. And then it kind of becomes this mini game of assessing what you have relative to the other engines and who's asking for your information at that point.
That makes sense, yeah. This is a really contextual question where you have to have specific parameters lined up to determine what is the right time or even the right amount of information to give away. Because there are games where I will give away a lot because it's the right thing to do. And it seems like it's almost too much, right? Like I'll reveal my hand in a situation where it's like maybe doesn't make sense to from an outsider looking in. But in the game, I know that I don't have anything. It makes me not table threat, and he buys me time to build up my board. I do like to show interaction. So, like, one thing people talk about a lot is like, do I share the interaction I have? Personally, I've said this a lot on the show. I think the best counterspell is the one you don't have to cast. So I will show my counterspell to someone, and if I can if I can counter their spell just by telling them I've got a counterspell and not to cast it, that's a win for me, right? Because I can then sit on that counter and use it to either defend my own win or to attack other people's wins. It's stuff like that is like perfect time to show information. It's I would almost rather always show my piece of interaction than cast it. There are still certain contexts to that, right? Like there are times when I just want to counter the thing, right? Either I don't like if it's a breach and I've got a force negation and it's a blue farm player, I don't want that being held over my head that like a civilians can come out at any point. I get rid of their best win con on the spot. I'll take that every day. There are other times like cards like Necro or stuff that sometimes it's like I could make a deal, but why? I'd rather just have you out of the game. Right? Like there's no reason for me to give you 4 cards that I have to then fight through rather than I just hit you now and I go to my turn and untap and win. So information is very contextual here. I would say the best advice is don't be afraid to give information away because you'll learn when is the proper time to give away information and to give away not information. So here's like a great example. I had a local game that I played where I asked the player across from me, I was like, does your piece of interaction require your commander? And they kind of gave me a look of like, and then they're like, yeah, I'll show it to you. Because we were politicking over something. I don't remember what. And they show me that's a fierce guardianship. Well, on my turn, I plan on pushing. And I have a relic. So I wanted to know if that commander was going to be necessary to what they were doing. And then I did fire off the relic. And they were like, oh, shit. And that's kind of one of those situations where it's like, you gave away too much information in that moment and let me kind of play around it. And I've had, like, when these political discussions are happening, that is kind of the time to, like, for players are fishing for information. So you have to be really careful on what kind of information you're giving away. I would say be really wary of getting rid of your counterspells to other players. Like, the player pushing, you can show it and be like, look, I'm going to do this otherwise. Do the other 2 players at the table be a little bit more wary about how you're revealing your interaction, because if they're going to be pushing kind of ahead of you, right? So let's say this guy's pushing win, and then the other 2 are ahead of you in priority. I'm really reluctant to use my counter magic, but more importantly, I'm not showing either of these 2 at all,
Right?
Because I don't know if they're going to try to push wins as well, and I'm not going to give information away there. Now, let's say in another spot, though, where this guy's going and this guy's going, I want to know what information is going in these 2 people's hands. And so I'm going to try and politic that and see, like, I'm willing to give away information to gain information. Because they're like, if, like, oh, I can push win, like, I can show the players, like, I have this counter spell. What do you guys have to back me up? And then if they're showing me nothing, I'm like, cool. Not only do I know that I've only got this one piece that's going to hit this guy, but now I'm also gained information that I can try to push a win. Now, if they're lying, I mean, what are you going to do about that, right? But like...
Yeah. Or if they draw more, right?
Yeah.
Not a lie at the moment, but you just get got.
But you're trying to open your window. And gaining information is about opening up your window.
Right.
So I would say, it's very contextual. Don't be afraid to give information away, because a lot of times it's not... The information is not overly relevant to the table, but do hesitate, I think, whenever it comes to interaction. I feel like interaction is always the crux, because that's what everyone wants to know is who's got what. And letting people see your interaction early, before, especially when you think they might be trying to set up a win, is going to put you in a bad spot.
Yeah, I know. I experienced this at the Boil recently. It's my round 3. It was that triple cradle pod that I was talking about. And I thought for sure somebody in a triple cradle pod kept something for the Grixis player, right? Like, there were no pregame politics or anything, but I thought for sure, okay, there's at least a fierce out here for what I'm doing.
Right.
And the Rogthras in Seat 1 started doing a lot of scary stuff really quickly, and they dropped a lot of mana, the ability to untap some stuff. I don't remember if they had a Heuristic Study, But the point is, like, they were clearly rocketing way ahead. And I looked at the other two Cradle players, the Dog Thras and the Derevi player, and I said, hey, you guys have anything for this? Anything for the untapper? Anything? They both looked at me and they just said, yeah, I'm F6. And I'm looking at this lively dirge in my hand and Malcolm already on board, like, that isn't getting interacted with. Interesting. And if the Rock Thrust player that rocketed ahead had shown me a counter spell, I would have just said, we can be cool. I'll get PFB. No need to counter the spell. It'll be all right. But yeah, nobody ended up having interaction. And they both just readily admitted, no, I'm F6. I don't have anything for him.
Yeah.
Which is wild. Like that. Don't be afraid to reveal information. But when it comes to not having interaction, I would at least play coy about it and say, I can't deal with that board state. I can't deal with an instant. You know what I mean? Like being more coy about what you can and cannot deal with instead of just saying, I'm F6. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes the trick is show like a land to somebody, probably not to the player that you've a little bit more worried about. So like in this case, you show the other Cradle player, like you show them a land and be like, this is what I've got for the situation. Mm-hmm. And I think I'm better not doing anything right now. And it's like, it's not a lie, right? Because showing the land, showing them that you've got nothing, that's your only play. Mm-hmm. It's nothing. I mean, that's all the signal is, right? This actually happened to me at the Invitational, the top 16. Jeremy's like, I've got a piece of he's like, I've got something, and he shows me a Narset, and I'm like, sick, buddy. I was like, that's not gonna do shit here. And I'm like, cool. But the whole time Sterling's playing around a piece of interaction. Yeah. And he doesn't know what it is, so he's just sitting there the whole time. Like, I have no idea what's going on. I'm just gonna play it safely as possible. And he almost screwed up his line, or maybe I'm just coping here, but either way, it took him a little bit longer to figure out where he was going with everything because the piece of interaction that was not an interaction. And at the end, he's like, well, what card was it? And we showed the Narset, and he's like, oh my God.
Or like what Stacko and I did to you round 5.
I mean, I knew you guys were bluffing.
I passed that man a demonic tutor.
Yeah, no, I knew they were bluffing. If you will watch that stream game, I'm basically like, show me 3 pieces of interaction or I'm jamming here. And then neither of them want to show me anything. And I'm like, these two don't got shit. And so I ripped the Calling Writ. And then they draw into 3 pieces of interaction off the Heartwood Storyteller, which was super annoying because I definitely was winning that game right before that moment.
Good old Heartwood. Force some draws.
Fuck that card, bro. Fuck that card. Sorry, we don't normally cuss on the show, but fuck that card specifically.
What do you mean? It's like fuck Kinnan every episode.
True. Now it's fuck Heartwood Storyteller. Kinnan's old news. We're on Heartwood Storyteller now.
Fair enough.
But yeah, this is a tough one. Play a lot of games. That is like the best advice we can give you because that will determine, because you're gonna have to kind of practice it and figure out like where you're going wrong with giving away information. I would just be really cagey about what you want to give away. Don't be afraid to give stuff away if it's gonna help benefit you in the long run. But some players I play with are way too quick to give away that stuff. Where they're like, oh yeah, I've got nothing. And you're like, brother, don't say that.
Don't say that. Stop.
Especially the further you are in priority, right? The further you are in priority, the cagier you should be. 100%. Like, I'm giving away nothing if I'm the furthest in priority from whoever's doing whatever at that moment.
Yeah.
Like, you get nothing from me. Because I don't want the other 2 people in priority ahead of me to jam wins if they know I've got nothing.
Right.
I'd rather everyone sit there and think I'm waiting on my 1 counter spell or my 1 piece of interaction or whatever.
Right.
So.
Okay, so the 4th most common question that Jordan and I get asked in coaching is how to answer if I'm winning the game. So.
I love this question.
Typically, this comes up a lot, right? So player A will actively be trying to win. Player B will have a piece of, player B will also be scary. Player C will have a piece of interaction, and they look to player B and say, well, if I counter A, what are you doing on? Are you winning the game? So I think there are a couple ways that you can go about this, right? We can go back to kind of the information sharing question, and you can share what you feel is beneficial to you, right? And so if you feel like that's your whole hand, if your whole hand is just mana sources and nothing scary, you can just say, look, this is my hand. This is what I have. I'm not priority bullying you. I'm not winning the game on my turn. things are going to be fine. You're safe to counter here. You can also be more coy about it, and you can say, I mean, I don't actively have the win in my hand, but if I draw it, I'm sending it. Or you can be even more coy and say, everybody's trying to win the game all the time. If I may have the win, I may not. Who knows? So I think it's kind of a spectrum, right? You can be really open about it depending on your hand, or you can be really cagey and just say, I don't know, maybe I might win. We're all trying to win.
Yeah. I've had success with a few different tricks. I think one of the tricks that I've had success with is I like to say, look, I can't win currently. And this is where the information part comes in. I can't win currently. I'll show you my hand. I'll show my entire hand to the person, especially if they're worried about me going before them. Mm-hmm. And I'm willing to sit there and show them my hand and say, look, I'm not winning on my turn right now. Right? I'm not saying I'm not going to try. I'm saying you can see my hand and see that I don't have a line here. And especially if I don't have a line, the idea is you never know what you're going to top deck. And certain decks like TNT Rockstars, it's easy to find a line out of nowhere and go. Even Blue Farm, right? Like you draw the right card and all of a sudden you're off to the races. Mm-hmm. And so I never like to back myself in no corner, so if I have a hand that I know like no one could find a line from, I will show it and be like, look, I've got nothing that's relevant. Like I'm not going to commit to not winning, but like I just don't have it right now. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure what I'm going to draw for turn, but you're going to have to risk it or we lose now. Mm-hmm. And that opens your window a little bit if you do draw the top deck. Some players will want the hard commit, and you just be like, I'm never going to hard commit to not winning, mm-hmm. right? And you can just say that. I'm never going to hard commit to not winning. And, let the chips fall where they may. Sometimes I've taken the deal where it's like, yeah, I'm not winning on my turn, but it's because I have an instant speed win, so I can wait a little bit. But you only have a certain limited amount of turns to win the game, right? And so if someone's going to try and shut down your win and say you can't win this turn, you go, I'm not too sure about that. You can make the argument to the player like, hey, they're actively winning. Mm-hmm. So we need to stop the active win attempt. This works better in a top 16 game, works less in Swiss because in Swiss people are just really quick to draw if they can.
True.
Get that extra point. It also helps when it's like a round where people need to win. So everyone just is like, oh, hey, stop the first win, whatever.
True.
But it can still be really hard to convince people that that's the correct play. So, yeah, it's just telling someone you're not going to win. There's a lot of weird little finagly words around it, right? Like, I don't have a win in hand. I'm not going to commit to not winning, but I don't have it. Mm-hmm. You can say, I can't win right now. I've liked that one a lot.
Yeah.
Because then if someone's like, are you going to agree to not win? I was like, I can't win right now.
Right.
And then you just like, sometimes people will leave that alone and be like, oh, well, okay, he's not winning. And then if they go, oh, well, you lied later when you start winning, you're like, no, I said I couldn't win right now. I never said anything about later.
Yeah.
It's squirrely.
It is.
It's very squirrely. Yeah. Especially if you had the win in hand when they asked you, it's even squirrelier.
Yeah.
But like if you drop top deck it, it's like, whatever. And I've done that before, right? Where I top decked the win and I just showed it as I top decked it. I'm like, sorry, guys.
Sorry, guys. Wee.
Like, sorry, y'all. I didn't have it. Now I have it.
Terrible.
Sucks to suck, nerds.
It also depends, right? Like especially when I was on Blue Farm, and be like, well, you're not winning on your turn, right? And they're feeding into my heuristic study, and they're actively fighting this other player, and I'm eventually staring at 40 cards in hand, like I couldn't before, but I can now.
Yeah. That's the thing, right? I try to never make a deal that pushes me out of being able to win. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I'll tell players that, like, look, I'm never going to make a deal to where I can't just win the game. It's just not going to happen because there's no point, right? You're basically saying I have to give up my turn, and you're not guaranteed another turn of this game. No. I passed turn in one of my games with 35 minutes left, and the boards were not that developed. And I expected in 35 minutes I'd at least get a turn,
right?
One more turn.
Right.
I did not see my turn. We did not see my turn. Somehow, between the two players, because Malcolm Timna got like 2 minutes in their turn. So between the other two players, they monopolized 33 minutes of game time. And that was like, it was kind of a shitty situation because if it does get back to my turn, I 100% win that game. Like I had, the voice of victory in hand and everything.
The classic, I just needed one more turn.
I literally
said every CEDH player ever after every round.
Well, I built up my board with the expectation I'd get another turn with 35 minutes left, especially with the amount of interaction that was at the table. But like everyone just there was way too much politicking.
Oh well, I mean,
and
yes, we've said it before, right? The yap is the issue.
Well, when 35 minutes of that game was 20 minutes of talking, it was just like guys. And I wasn't even the one talking. I was literally sitting there like looking at my win on top of everything, and I'm like, oh, well, I guess I'm just gonna chill. Do what I always do now and just wait.
Yep.
Wait for my window. And I think that was why it was like, oh, it wasn't too bad because like I did have the win on top, but it was just frustrating because
it's like, get to the point.
Right.
Start taking some game actions now.
It was just like, we're politicking over nothing at a certain point. Like, dude, just do it. Like, like I think like 5 minutes spent arguing about who was getting swung at, and it was like, bro, just swing at me. Like, I don't care anymore.
Right.
Like, just please, can we just stop?
Nobody cares about their life total. Bonk somebody, move on.
Right. Well, it was like the Raw Shy player and the TMNT player were fighting each other about who's going to swing at who. And I was just like, bro, I'll take everything. I don't care. I'll be at like 5 life and I'll still win this game. Like, I do not care. I just want to play the game.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was like one of those frustrating moments where you're being asked, at one point, one guy looks at me, he's like, are you planning on winning? I was like, if I gets to my turn, yes. Yes, I will try to win this fucking game because I'm not getting another turn if it somehow magically gets to my turn.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the situation, right? Is you just never know when you're getting a turn. So putting yourself in a bind of like, I can't win the game, you kind of just say that. Like, I will not make a deal that makes it to where I have to draw the game.
Right.
It's not happening. And if you're... aggressive is not the right word, but if you're forceful with it and you're like, I will not make a deal, like I would rather lose right here than make a deal that says I have to give somebody else the game.
Right.
Because if I pass my turn and don't get to do anything scary, then that's what I'm doing. I'm just letting one of you two win.
Right. And typically players are pretty amenable to that. They'll say, oh, that's reasonable. Everybody gets scared of the win on board, right? They see the big scary, they see the breach or a tutor for a Boro or the Necro or, whatever you're dealing with. And people just kind of say, okay, that's fine. We have to take this gamble. We have to hope that he doesn't top deck it. And then that's when you can kind of have a conversation with the player that's winning and say, hey, don't fight me too much on this, right? I have more interaction, or, I'm drawing a lot of cards and this person right after you is drawing a lot of cards. Please don't feed them into the win. Like, let me counter the one spell and let's be cool. And sometimes that works. Sometimes it doesn't. If they have 40 cards in hand and this is their only push turn, that's probably not going to work. But sometimes you can reason with the player that is, actively being scary if it means not losing to the next person.
Yeah. It just depends. It's a tough one. All these have been tough today, but and this is like one of those really hard questions that a lot of people struggle with, because the second you say, I'm not going to commit to anything, you're basically saying I'm going to win.
Yep.
As the way it's always interpreted, right?
Yep.
There's not, unless you're kind of forceful about it, where it's like, look, I'm not winning right now, but I'm not committing to not winning at some point. Like, I'm not going to make a deal in case I do top deck something and it's my window to push, but. That's where you have to be really careful and forceful about how you word this question, because if you're just like, if you're too coy about it, like Lily said, coy is like one of the things you can do. It's always interpreted as, no, you have it.
Yeah.
Every single time.
It's going to spook the whole board. And that, to varying levels of success, right? Sometimes you want them to be afraid of like X thing and then you do another thing, right? Or if you have multiple win attempts in hand that you can push forward, it's like, oh, well, being coy didn't matter to begin with. So I think it like Jordan said before, all of this is really context dependent. This is a super contextual question for what is going on in the particular board state.
Yeah, my go-to is not currently, right? If someone's like, are you winning on your turn? I'm like, not currently. That's very open for interpretation. It's not my turn, so currently I can't go for a win. Mm-hmm. Are you planning on winning on your turn? Well, not currently, but we'll see what happens. Plans change. Plans change very quickly.
See, that's coy. That's the coy we were talking about.
Right, but it's coy in a way that makes people go, sometimes you'll get away with it to where you'll be like, not currently, and everyone will be like, oh, okay. Sometimes people will be like, well, what do you mean not currently? And you'll be like, I don't have the cards in hand to win the game. And people will be like, oh, okay. Or, if you do have the cards in hand and someone's like, what do you mean not right now? And you're like, well, it's not my turn.
Right.
So, like, I'm going to make a decision on my turn about whether or not I feel like I can even make a push. But right now, it's not looking so hot.
Right.
And that's true, right? if someone's going to continue to hold their interaction, it is not looking so hot. Now, if you ask me after every single piece of interaction, does it look better? The answer is probably yes, but I'm not going to say that. I'm going to be like, oh, I'll evaluate it on my turn.
Coy.
But it's when you say I don't know, like when someone says, "Are you gonna win?" And you're like, "I don't know, we'll see." Mm-hmm. That's too coy. Oh, that's the kind of coy that's like, yeah, okay, so you yes,
yeah,
right. Saying not right now, but we'll see. Like what I draw into. That's a little
also equally suspicious. It just sounds nicer.
It's not as suspicious, right? Because you are actively saying I don't have the win.
Maybe I play against you too much.
I just happen to draw the win a lot.
I was gonna say that sends off alarm bells to me, but I play against you too much.
It should still send alarm bells. The difference is I'm actively saying I cannot currently win, right? The difference is that TNT can sure as shit dig for a win.
Yeah.
Like decks like Rockfast and TNT, it's a little bit less good. Like even Kinnan too, right? Big mana decks that can dig a lot. You're like, okay, you don't currently have win in hand.
But you have 40 mana, the ability to flip Thrasios, so Reducer and Untapper.
Another funny one is I don't currently have win in hand while you're looking at like a demonic tutor. And you're like, well, I don't currently have it in hand, but I have the card to go get it in hand.
That is so squirrely.
I think that one is a little disingenuous.
Don't do that. Please don't do that.
But I've seen it done. I don't do this one. I think this one's a little like, you're kind of stretching the truth a little bit. Because like win in hand is subjective to a certain degree, but like a tutor for a win is win in hand.
Exactly.
In my opinion.
Exactly.
But I have seen people argue that no, it's not. So
right, because it's not the breach or it's not the finisher.
Demonic tutor is anything
technically.
It's anything it wants to be right up until you grab it.
That's some like actually bullshit. Like
this is Schrodinger's Underworld Breach.
Yeah.
It is. It does exist and it doesn't exist at the same time. So yeah, this one is tough, but I think ultimately you just have to be really careful about how you word your statements and just be really non-committal to it while also deflecting from the fact that you can win. Mm-hmm. If you can win, like you're like, I'm looking at everything, like all the greatest cards in my deck, and I am absolutely 100% winning on my turn. Mm-hmm. You just go, look, guys, I'm not going to commit to not winning the game, right? Because the other aspect of this, and we kind of talked about it I think earlier in the show, but maybe it was a different episode, where if someone is going to push a win attempt, sometimes you're better off just saying like I might be able to win, because then it kind of pushes everyone else into like maybe we could draw a situation. Mm-hmm. And so like, for example, if someone's like, oh, well, if this guy's like, I'm going to fire off my interaction, are the three of us good to draw? And you're looking at your win and you're like, no, like I want to try and win. And that guy's like, well, then I'm not going to cast my interaction if you're just going to go to your turn and win. You right. Go, look.
Classic dilemma.
Right, but you go, look, he's going to continue to push here, right? Like there's no reason, unless that guy is actively saying he's not going to push any further, like then we're in a weird spot of he's going to continue to push, except now he can do it for free if you're forcing us all into a draw situation. Mm-hmm. And so you're like, whereas at least if I can say I can win, or I'm coy about whether or not I can win, I can at least punish him for continuing to push.
Yeah.
And sometimes that forces the person out of continuing to push. But I think the best way to do it is just be very careful about how you word your statements, right? Mm-hmm. Say, I'm never going to commit to not winning. Like, I just don't feel like I'm in a position to win right now. Mm-hmm. And that is another one, right? I'm not in a position to win right now. That is very open for interpretation about what that actually means. That doesn't mean you don't have the win. That mean your position is not great to push that win, or you're assessing the situation as like, I'm not sure about all this, right? Because I don't know what interaction is still out there. Mm-hmm. I don't know what people are sandbagging, because people love to sandbag their interaction and wait and wait and wait.
Oh, yeah.
I see it all the time where players are like, I've got nothing. I'm not willing to do anything. And all of a sudden, they start interacting after they said they're not going to do anything. And you're like...
Or if it comes to forcing a draw, and then they're like, I'm on board for a draw. Here's my 5 pieces.
Right.
And you're like, I never stood a chance. Cool.
Right. But even in those situations, right, where it's like, you can continue to be like, well, I'm going to still assessing that I'm not ready to push, so I'm like, you can continue to interact.
Yeah.
You're just trying to be non-committal about it. That's the key part. Don't let someone talk you into not winning and taking a deal that basically says you lose the game to them.
Yep.
That's like the key part to this.
Yep.
So, all right, go to our last question.
Yep.
So the last question is, should I counter draw engines? And this is a tough one, but I honestly, after playing more and more and more, believe the answer is yes.
Yes.
And it really is deck dependent for the most part, right? But like if I'm playing against a Rog Ishai, I'm 100% counting those draw engines all day long, all day, every day. All those Ristic studies can get the fuck out of here.
Yep.
Right? The idea is we only counter win cons in CEDH because win cons are ubiquitous, they're quicker, and you need to have your interaction for them. However, all that being said, what's the point in counting the win con when the person's drawn 30 cards? Right? Like, I go back to that thought a lot. I kept my one piece of interaction, and now they're winning with 30
And now
cards.
they have 3 pieces of interaction to beat your one because they had the Ristic study and they were fed.
Right. And that's the problem, is most times, not all the time, but most times when people go for early draw engines, they don't have anything else, right? And so putting them back on their draw engines, and I know it feels weird because it's like, well, what if somebody else plays theirs and not somebody else plays theirs? But I think the idea is if the entire table is constantly countering draw engines, and if we get to this world where people are more aggressive about getting rid of Ristic studies and smothering tithes and fishes, then you create a world where players are kind of getting stuck sitting around and having to mulligan differently. Right now, you can just mulligan for Ristic for free, and 90% of the time it hits the board.
Right.
And it's going to do what you want it to do.
Right.
And that's, partially problematic. Like, the only time anyone's hitting your fish is if they have a mental misstep. Your smothering tithes are a little bit less likely to hit the board, but still, I've gotten plenty to jam through just fine.
Oh, yeah.
And these cards build up so much advantage for you that it's weird that they don't get countered, because if this was the equivalent, if their equivalent was in like a 60 card game, these cards would be the most dangerous cards in every deck.
Oh, yeah.
And yet they're
sure.
not touched at all. We all agree Ristic Studium is the best card in CEDH.
For sure.
And yet it's never countered.
Yeah.
And I see people make weird arguments about it. Like, I saw a story, I don't remember who posted it, but it was like, for everyone countering or thinking about countering Ristic studies, I jammed my turn 2 or turn 3 Necro right after my Ristic was countered, and you guys should have countered my Necro. But it's like, yeah, but then you would have the Ristic study to defend your Necro push.
So yeah.
I don't agree with that either. We just need to have more CEDH probably just needs to run more interaction in general.
Yeah.
Like, we've gotten really greedy, both with onboard removal, but like I see a lot more decks are dropping interaction to jam more value. To get like these kind of stormy turns going.
I mean, like dropping Force of Neg is a big one in decks that shouldn't be dropping Force of, right? It's not even like just the turbo decks.
I definitely
The mid-range deck should be on Force of Neg.
I've been on Swan Song.
That's also wild to me.
Yeah. It's probably wrong, but I haven't missed it. Unless I have missed it and I haven't noticed. Swan Song's fucked me up a couple times though, where it's like the one spell I wanted to counter was an artifact.
Oh, yeah.
Because like it was like Basalt. It was Jake's freaking little stupid Agathas. All these weird like Arkham decks and the Iron Man deck and freaking Magda. Was like all these really powerful cards that are all artifacts that Swan Song just doesn't hit. I was like,
You know what Swan Song does hit, though?
breach.
Enchantments. The things we're just talking about.
True.
It hits the Ristics, it hits the ties, it hits the breaches, and you're out here saying counter them, and then you don't even run the counter for them.
That's what Force Negation
Get it together, Jordan.
That's what Force Negation's for.
Do you run that now?
Yeah, yes, I do run that. I replaced Swan Song with Force Negation.
Okay.
But I was on Force Negation for a minute because I was like, what do I need a spell that wins on other people's turn? Or that doesn't help me win on my turn?
See, that's so good. That's greed. It
is greed.
You're not in Rogsai. You can't say that. Rogsai can say that. You can't say that.
That's the problem, right? We're all too greedy in this format right now. But I do think I have been a big advocate of countering draw engines when I can, and I do counter them a lot more lately. Unfortunately, I've had to mull to oblivion the last couple of times that like some major ones came down, and I was like, oh, here we go.
I mean, our friend Greg at the Kraken's Cup was when we were jamming. I want to call it LobbyCon, Airbnb-Con, whatever. When we were jamming in the Airbnb, it was like, yeah, I counter draw engines. And then I saw him in round 1, and the first thing he did was counter Rogthras's Ristic Study, which was so good because Rogthras proceeded to shit out so much mana and push on turn 3 or turn 4. And we were fighting them not through a Ristic Study.
Yeah.
So, like, countering draw engines does work.
I mean, if the best card in their deck is if that's the card they're gunning for every game, well, why are we not removing it? right? Like
Especially with Blue Farm too. If Blue Farm wastes their first tutor, if they're wasting their E tutor or their Vamp tutor to get Rhystic Study, and now you've just made that spell useless, essentially. They have spent resources into a Rhystic Study that didn't land. That's probably a net good for the table.
And if you think about it too, if you're hitting it with like an REB or a Swan Song, you're 2 for 1ing them, right? You're getting rid of their tutor and their draw engine off of one counter spell. Like it's worth using, and I think people are just not thinking through this because there's always the idea, and a lot of older CDH players have kind of put it into people's heads of, well, yeah, you counter the Rhystic, but then the next player just plays theirs, and you're still back right where you were. But it's like,
or the other hand, right? You counter the Rhystic and then you immediately lose because, player A tapped out for the Rhystic, player B counters it, player C just wins the game.
And it is
because they're more proactive.
It is tough when you're playing against like multiple turbo deck. Like if I'm playing against one turbo deck, I'll consider it closely. 2, the Rhystic Study's landing. That, I mean, honestly, it just is. Like I can't do anything about it when I have to hold up interaction for the turbo deck.
Right.
I have been able to make deals with Turbo where I'm like, buy me 2 turns. I'm going to get rid of this Rhystic Study, give me 2 turns. Or give me a turn. Like, I get a turn, and then I get another turn, and after that turn, you can go. And I'm like,
Which objectively just sucks for the Turbo deck as well.
It does.
Because now they're not in their optimal window.
That is, but now they have to jam into a Rhystic, so their optimal window is getting closed anyway.
That's true.
By not there being more Rhystics, maybe I'm just gaining advantage. There's little tricks that you can do to, like, to counter draw engines and deal with Turbo.
Yeah.
I mean, if Turbo player lies to you, what are you going to do, right? I mean, if anyone lies to you, you're just kind of SOL, but
Don't lie. TLDR, don't lie.
Or do, and have your reputation stained forever. People remember. It gets around. I promise you guys, it does get around. I see it in group chats. People have, like, lists of liars, like known liars, and they will call you on it. Happened at the Invitational, right? Sam Black and Gold Sabretooth. Gold Sabretooth lied to Sam. Sam finally had his moment in the sun to call him out on it at the midseason invitational. Yes. And I literally was watching that whole spat play out, mostly because I was losing and there was nothing for me to do but watch while somebody was being forced to play out their line. So I was literally just like this, like, oh, damn. Oh, damn. Oh, damn. Right? Because GSC got bright red.
Jordan just with the popcorn, like, oh, shit. Oh, shit.
I mean, I heard the whole thing, right? Like, I'm sitting right there. So I heard the entire interaction, and I was like, damn. I don't know, like, the full context behind everything, but I heard the conversation. And apparently that's, like, Sam was waiting for this moment for a while and finally got him. And I was like, damn.
I mean, even just at, like the boil, right? If somebody lies to your friends or people you're rooming with or, whoever, and it's just like now anytime that person sees this group of like 20 plus people, they know that you're a liar.
True. Yeah, because people do share. Like within the team we shared, but outside the team, I know that it was getting around too on like certain people being shitheads.
Be that way.
Yeah, I mean, you'll gain victories off of it for sure, but at what cost? Because I do think there is diminishing returns very quickly, right? Like it'll help for a couple games, and then the diminishing returns will set in very quickly. And if you get into a position where no one trusts you ever in the community, unless you run into like a group of randos, then you're down bad. So I would definitely not.
I'm saying that's where it gets into a situation where you're almost forced to just start like oversharing information, over committing to, hey, I'm not winning. Hey, I'm not winning. Hey, here's my hand, because you've lost the ability to kind of be coy because people don't know if that, like, being cagey is just straight up lying.
Oh yeah, there's certain players that when they tell me they have nothing, I'm like, you've got to show me.
Right.
Like, I've been burned by you too many times. Like I need to see your hand to know that there's no interaction or this is resolving, and I will lose happily to the player that has not lied to me.
Right.
So I had that happen to me where a guy lied to me and then tried to make a deal with me, and a couple tournaments later in a top 4 game, he's like, oh, well, how about I do this instead? And, you agree not to blow me out. And I was like, absolutely not. I'm blowing you the fuck out.
Yep.
And he's like, we can't make a deal. And I was like, you lied to me last time we made a deal. I trusted you. It blew up in my face. This time I'm sending you straight to hell.
Yep.
And, he's complaining. And I was like, nope, too bad. So sad. I don't care. I'm willing to lose. If this piece of interaction ends up losing, I need this later and I lose because of it, I'm fine with that. I will lose happily. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Our little mini tangent on lying. But yeah, these questions were very tough today because I think they're very intractable issues that are very contextual. And so it's really hard to know when and where to kind of navigate CEDH, honestly, when it comes to these questions. But it just requires practice and politicking and figuring out what your personal style is, because a lot of times you'll find a style that really works for you, right? I don't get backed into too many corners on draws because I'm very good at navigating these discussions and figuring out a style that works for still getting out of these situations.
But you're 8th on the draw leaderboard.
Okay, that's bullshit. I did that because of Esper. I think if I went and checked my like TNT stats, TNT I'm probably doing a lot better with. Like, we still draw a lot, but honestly, we draw mostly because the board's too scary and people don't want to progress the game. They'll just kind of sit there and be like, okay.
Creature spooky.
Yeah. Well, like the Mid-Season Invitational is such a great example of that. Where, like, I had a decently scary board. It got dismantled, and I'm like, cool.
Didn't you have like 3 draws?
Yeah.
Like 3 or 4 draws?
Well, we constantly were going to time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about
Like,
right.
3 of my draws were fully timed draws. Like, we went fully into time, fighting on the stack, trying to find wins, and we couldn't find them. The other one was trying to win the game. I was trying to win the game, and then for some reason, the Rock Thrust player who was in a dominant position agreed to draw with Logan, funny enough, from Critical. And I was just like, why are you drawing? Like, it made no sense to me why he would draw. He was dominating that game, and Logan convinced him the Kalia player was close to winning. I don't think he was. And I'm just sitting there like, okay, bro. Like, I had just gotten blown the fuck out. So,
No, guess we'll draw again.
well, it was weird because like everyone looked at me at the end of it and they're like, do you want to draw? And I was like, I'd rather not draw, but like,
You're looking at your grip of like win conditions.
but like, I was like,
I don't want to draw.
I was like, what choice do I have here? And everyone was like, well, I'm just not going to counter the Yogg's will. And I was like, okay, so we're just going to let him win. Like, is that the plan? I was like, I don't understand. I guess I didn't understand because Rockdrax is probably winning that game if he doesn't draw there.
I mean, that's when you just call it and say, okay, don't counter the Yogg's will. See where that gets you.
No, because it was the first game, so I was like, I'll take the extra point, I guess, to start. Like, it was weird. Also, because like I wasn't even sure Logan could get there on the Yogg's will. I was like, do I just let this go? But I felt like I was losing to Rockdrax regardless. Like, if people weren't firing off their interaction there, then I was never going to have a window. I needed like all the interaction to go and then Jacob to not do anything. And then I still might not get there. Like, that's how narrow my window was. So I was like, I think I'm just better off taking the draw.
Yeah.
So,
Tangent aside.
yeah. Yeah, that's all we're going to have for today for the bulk of our discussion. Hopefully those help. I know a lot of those were very context dependent and that's a little tough to kind of articulate well. So, hopefully this still helps though, and that we were able to kind of show you like how you can navigate these discussions because these questions are really hard to answer, and players do love to pin you down, and that's just the best answer. Don't let yourself get pinned into a situation where you're either giving too much information away and you're losing, putting yourself in a position where you can never win because you're constantly taking deals that say you can't win the game, or being bullied enough to where it's like, hey, I can constantly put you in this on your back foot the whole game, and you're never going to get a chance to win. Right. Because if you can avoid those 3 scenarios, you're doing it okay.
Right.
So I guess with all that to be said, we want to jump into questions.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, so for our first question of tonight, this comes from our YouTube comment section. Shazam said, I just played a small event and we tried the Scry rules in seat order. I happened to be seat 4. It actually felt pretty good. I'm still unsure about changing game mechanics. What are y'all's thoughts on these things being tested? This is a very good question, and we actually yapped a lot about this weekend. So even though you commented this like 2 weeks ago at this point, thank you.
Yeah, I think ultimately, from what I heard, we didn't play in the side event where the rules were tested. But ultimately, from what I heard, universally, meh.
Yeah.
It was kind of the takeaway.
Yeah.
Didn't hear a lot of. I would say I personally did not hear a lot of positives about it. I don't know if that's because of. Honestly, I don't know why. I just didn't hear a lot of positives about it. I've heard some different arguments about changing game rules, and I kind of. I'm not sure where I feel about it because, I could see Wizards like printing a card that screws this whole system up pretty easily.
Right.
I don't know how, but like, it's Wizards. They'll find a way, right? Like, more than likely, there'll be a magic card. Not that Wizards do anything wrong, but like, there's going to be a magic card printed that does something ridiculous that screws the whole system up, right? And then you have to rebuild it.
Right.
I think it's very easy to forget about the scry rule, and apparently the fix that they were working with was you just lose them, which then you lose your whole advantage for that turn just by brain farting it. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I think it's interesting to try. I think they should keep testing new rules. I'm all about testing new things and seeing what works. Like we were talking about the time chips earlier in the episode. There's always ways to like throw rules out there and just see what sticks, what's working, what's not working, and then kind of just continue to refine and go from there.
Yeah, I like the fact that they're trying something. Obviously, people have expressed that they're not content with the status quo, and that's fine. I do sometimes think it's a situation where people say, we want change. Oh, wait, not like that. Things are changing. So I do think we should be open-minded about it, but I also understand the argument where people are forgetting their triggers. We're now getting more judge calls. It's now making things take longer. It gets cumbersome. And I understand people already not wanting the tournament experience to take longer. I do like the idea of changing point values. I know some TOs are toying with that, right? So I think that's pretty interesting. And I wonder if there's some combination of adjusting the scry rules and the point rules where there's a happy medium. But ultimately, I don't know. I mean, Jordan and I haven't played with it yet, so this is all just kind of us theorizing. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see the future of it for sure.
Yep.
Okay, this question comes from our Discord. This is Phil Bojack. Do you have any pet cards you always want to slot into a deck, even if they aren't great in that deck? If so, what are they? Mine is 6.
Mine is Valley Flood Caller.
Oh, you do love that otter.
But, I mean, he's kind of a cheating answer because he's good in most decks.
Yeah.
It's, like, hard.
Yeah.
What is a card that I actually like to slot in that's not good?
Right, like a pet card that's not optimal. Because Valley Flood Caller is optimal in a lot of situations.
See, I don't know that I have one.
I don't know that I have one either.
Calamity's Wake, because I don't run Calamity. The Calamity's Wake is a pet card, but I only run it in TNT because it's only good in TNT.
Sure.
I guess Oculus is like another pet card.
But you also only run that in TNT. You wouldn't shove that in Terra for the hell of it, right?
No, but I have been trying to shove it in other Thrasios lists just to see if it works. So I guess Oculus, some form of Oculus, Flood Caller. Probably just those two. I'm trying to think. There's no other card that like jumps to mind.
Yeah.
That's like, this is a Jordan Drake special.
Yeah.
That isn't Calamity's Wake. I feel like that.
Or like VFC. Like you and that otter. You're codependent with that otter. But that's okay. That otter's cool.
Yeah, nothing else is jumping to mind.
I feel like mine's also cheating, but like Malcolm Glinthorn. I ran Malcolm Glinthorn in the 98 of Blue Farm.
Did you say Lightning Recruit?
Chaotic Goblin Energy.
You're like the only person that runs Lightning Recruit, right?
I am like one of the only people that runs. I mean, unless you're on a variation of Pirate Farm, right? Yeah. Like unless you've taken my Kedis in the 98 of Malcolm Vile.
Really?
A lot of people don't do that. I get questioned on that. I get sometimes more than questioned on that. I get criticized on that.
It's like a 2-mana ritual. It's like a Cabal ritual for treasures.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know. Ooh, braids until I switched it for Bergie. I think I'm more known for being a hater of Beseech the Mirror than being known for like putting a card in my deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. I'll have to ponder that one more.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's like a card that's just like, I will run this every time, no matter what the deck is. But like, I'm thinking like my Terra deck. And there's nothing like special to that deck that's also in TNT.
Yeah.
That I'm just like, yes, you will be in all decks. Valley Flood Caller is the closest thing. I've built entire decks around Valley Flood Caller.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
Another cheating answer for me, I guess, would be Breach, but Breach is just good. I love Breach lines. I don't know.
It's a major cheating answer.
It's a cheating answer. It's fine.
Yeah. Next question.
Okay, so this one is also kind of a cheating question, but this is from Punted Again, or Greg in our Discord. And he posted a screenshot of a hand, which you guys can see that here. And it says, Rogsai Seat 2, do you pregame the gemstone? And for those of you who can't see the hand, it's a Mox Amber, an Arcane Signet, Gemstone Caverns, looks like Mana Confluence, Mystical Tutor, and Simeon's Spirit Guide. So the debacle here is, what do you pitch to the gemstone if you're pitching anything to gemstone at all?
So I think this was like a little puzzle, but I basically solved the puzzle very quickly. It's not even a real puzzle. Like, that's probably being too.
It's okay.
Yeah.
You just call it a puzzle. It's okay.
Whatever. But this is a turn 2 Naz. And I think I gun for the Naz, right? Because you basically do not pregame the gemstone, which I know is crazy, but like you don't do it.
That is crazy.
You don't do it here. You basically go the Mana Confluence, play out the Mox, and play out the Rog, play the Signet on that turn 1, right? You tap land, tap Mox Amber, play Signet, pass. Tutor on the end step for the Naz. So you tap the Arcane Signet using the Mystical Tutor, get the Naz. On your next turn, you play your Gemstone, or if you've drawn a better land, you can play that. You pitch the Simian Spirit Guide, but that will give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana, and will be exactly the right mana to Naz off. It'll be a
So are you main phasing the Naz?
You can do either.
In this world?
Either you're main phasing or you're holding it up to rip it on somebody else's.
Yeah.
And so no one's going to see it coming.
It's a mystical tutor. They're totally going to see it coming.
Oh, it is a Mystical Tutor.
That's the issue with this. You're putting the Naz face up.
Oh, I'm main phasing that bitch then.
Yeah, I mean, just send it, right?
Yeah, you have to.
Hope to hit more rocks. Get some rituals in there, too. I mean, you've already played your land for turn, which is a little bit tough.
And you're pitching your Simian? Ooh, that is kind of rough.
I mean, I guess it's like Lotus Petal into Culling Ritual, into Beseech for an Underworld Breach, and then...
If you didn't get it, yeah.
Yeah, and then you just kind of go from there.
It's rough because you're pitching a lot of your fast mana, but
Yeah.
you can hit your Chrome, your Opal. Opal's online immediately, so that's good. Yeah, I think it's. I mean,
any amount
You're
of-
Rockside, right? Gun for it.
Like Rite of Flame, Dark Rit, some rocks, you'll be all right.
You're Rockside. You gun for it.
Yeah.
And if you don't get there, well, then Variant's got you, and you go to the next game.
Exactly.
That's the Rockside experience.
And it's Rockside. You expect not to get there at least 50% of the time.
Yeah. All right. So to the meta. So the meta for the Boil 2026 was gross. Honestly,
Yes.
the rogification of our meta is in full swing.
Rogification's crazy, but not wrong.
Honestly, this is what I've been saying. Rog needed to be banned a long time ago, and people have always been coping saying it didn't need to be banned. A 0 drop in the command zone is just creating problems, right? Because Rog you pair with anything with a blue, and it just is good. Rog Thras, Rog Ishai, Rog Sai. All 3 top 16s this weekend, with Rog Thras taking down the event. Out of the top 16 decks, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them were Roger decks.
Did you count the winner as well?
Yep, that's counting Zeke,
Okay.
who took down the Boil. 6 of them were Roger decks. Then the other problematic partner in our format is Crom. Or sorry, not Crom, Timna.
I was like, what do you have for Crom? That's like the least problematic half of that pairing.
And in this tournament, 4 of the other decks were Timna.
Sure.
So 10 of the 16 decks either had Timna or Rogrek,
Yep.
which is crazy.
Yep.
And then if you really want to get even dumber with it, right? Leonardo and Michelangelo, which was the turtle deck that top forward, is just it's a 5-color good stuff pile. It's a 5-color turbo deck masquerading as something else. So you have turbo, Rowan's turbo. This Iron Man deck, I'm not sure if it's meant to be turbo, but it's the one who turned to me, so I'm going to say turbo until someone proves me otherwise.
The way Stacko runs Blue Farm that should essentially say Rogsai.
Yeah. So then you have 3, and Rocco's kind of a turbo. Yeah, I'd say Rocco's a turbo-ish deck, right?
I don't know. If they run Deafening Silence, I'm not calling that turbo.
No, but I guess it depends. But either way, right? 3 to 4-ish turbo decks.
Sure.
And your only mid-range decks that really made it that weren't Timna or Rog were Kinnan and Magda. So, like...
And Magda's playing its own little mini game. I don't even know that I call Magda mid-range.
Yeah.
More is it like proactive.
So what a gross meta.
That is an insane meta.
This meta has gotten gross. The Rogification of our meta has been very frustrating because you always feel a turn behind against every Rog deck forever.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, even if you look, further down, it was a lot of Timnas, a lot of Rogrek. So Timna and Rogrek are just right now running our meta.
Hey, put some respect on Malcolm's name.
No,
I'm there.
you are there in spirit. But I mean, if you look at the top 30 decks, right, it was almost all more Rogrek, more Timna, more Timna, more Timna, more Timna, more Rogrek,
More
more
Rogrek,
Timna.
more Timna.
It's a lot of Rogrek and Timna right now.
It is.
I think everyone else is starting to get boxed out of the format. I mean, when your top 5 decks are basically Timna, Crom, 3 versions of Rog and something.
Yeah.
And then maybe Kinnan.
And Timna Thrasios.
And then you can throw Timna
thrown in the
Thrasios in
top
there.
10
Yeah.
somewhere in there. Yeah.
Like, I don't know. The seeing this Raw for one, I saw this Raw list. This list feels like it's boom or bust. Every time I saw it, it was either did they get their double wristic studies? If they didn't, then they lost or drew.
Right.
If they did, then yes, they could win. But in my experience, most of the time they weren't getting their double wristic studies. Every game I saw Ragisha like 3-4 times this tournament, and every time I drew. The deck forces draws a lot.
See, the one time I saw them was that round 6 I talked about before, where they had triple wristic.
And they won.
And they won, but that's only because the Marnius player gunned for wristic instead of Tithe, because they made a deal with the Ragishai player. Why you make the deal there, I'd be on the point. And the Ragishai player only made that deal to clone the first wristic. And then they e-tutored for the next clone. And then they had the next clone after that. And it was like, okay, well, we've given them everything.
Yep. So, yeah, I don't know. The meta's I feel like the meta was healthy right up until this Ragishai list took off. Now I just see Roger in every pod. It's all Roger all the time. And I think that just, again, proves that Roger has gotten out of hand. That this card probably needed to be banned a long time ago. I know that it's been thrown out there a few different times. But if we're looking at a problematic card, is Roger not just more problematic than Ristic Study right now? I'd love to see the math on it.
I mean, and you and I have had this discussion before, right? Banning somebody's commander feels bad. So in order for any type of unified anybody, to take the step to just say, hey, your commander bad, it's going to take a lot.
Yeah.
Right? Like it took Nadu being universally problematic for them to say, hey, commander bad. It takes a lot for us to get to that point.
I think we've gotten to that point, though. When most of your top 16 is becoming very quickly a Timna deck or a Rograk deck, you have a problem. I love TNT, right? I'll be sad if they ban Timna because that takes away Timna Thrasios. But like, I look at this meta and I see it's just Timna all over the place and it's just Rograk all over the place. You do start to wonder, have we reached a point?
Card draw in the command zone is cracked, right? Like, that is insane value.
And
the mana value that Rograk brings in the command zone also cracked.
It's not just mana value. It's the fact that also, because if they keep printing all this free interaction that is based on having a Rogger, right? Whether it's
Flare's on, Fierce is on, Rollick is on.
The Deflecting Swat.
Deflecting Swat is on.
It's not necessarily on right away, but like Louis Swaz is also way easier to cast. All your rituals are online.
Culling Writ is instant on.
Yep. Like
Diabolic Intent on from the jump.
Yeah. It's definitely interesting to see kind of how out of hand things have gotten with Roger. And I'll be curious to see if they find a way to rein it in or if we all kind of bury our heads in the sand like we've been doing in CEDH forever and just go, who cares?
Right. It'll also be interesting to see if there's a shift, because right now we always talk about this, right? And you experienced this after the boil as well. TNT felt like the new hot thing for you, and it felt cracked. It felt gross. You were hot shit after the boil, and then the deck starts to get humbled. And Zeke joked about this a little bit after he won as well. Like, man, I'm going to get humbled at every event now, aren't I? People are just going to board wipe the shit out of me. Rogthras can't have anything. So I wonder if it's a situation where people start looking at, Rogthras, Rogishai, and just start giving them nothing because it's the new hotness.
The problem is if you're running a Rog version, if you're running basically it's are the Timna Croms just going to beat up on the Roger decks?
If Timnacrom adapts.
Maybe. But
that
right
would
now
require the pilots to adapt.
Right now, because right now I see Rogthras beating up on Timnacroms a lot. Like, it's just kind of eating that deck alive, which you think the opposite would happen.
Yeah, I mean, you think so, right?
Yeah, but I've also seen I don't see enough Timnacrom players running enough interaction.
And that was just about to be my next point. So many Blue Farm players have cut their removal suites. Yeah. And they've cut sweepers like Deluge. And now, granted, some are getting onto Firestorm, right? I think Firestorm should be part of that discussion. But so many of them cut large sweepers like Psychrift, Toxic Deluge. Some even cut Bowmasters, which just cooks creature decks. And they're like, no, we don't need Bowmasters. True. So it's not surprising the Rogthrases are starting to run over the Blue Farms when that's when the Blue Farms have swapped to.
Yeah. No, 100%. I agree. it's definitely becoming interesting.
It's a time. It's a time in this meta for sure.
Yeah. So, well, I think that's all we're going to have time for today. Yeah, we're in a weird place in the meta right now. Let's see if the rogification continues. It's Rog-sized world right now. Or, sorry, it's Roger's world. We're all just living in it. But thank you for joining in for this episode. Again, like always, please like, follow, subscribe. We're closing in on 1,000. Lily and I are discussing doing something for the 1,000th subscriber. Or maybe not the 1,000th subscriber, but like, doing like a giveaway when we hit 1,000 subscribers, something.
Yeah.
We're trying to figure it out. We'll probably have something announced next week for it. Unless we hit 1,000 subscribers before then we'll
figure it out as we go.
And then announce it here. Yeah, we'll figure it out.
We'll wing it just like true CEDH players do.
Find the line, Lily, find the line. But we do appreciate all the support. It's been a lot to us, and we're going to continue to make educational content. I think it's been really helpful. We've heard a lot of positives from the community about how helpful the content's been, which was the goal. That was the entire premise behind this channel. And so we're going to continue to try and hit that mark. And we appreciate all the support. So thank you. And we'll see you next week.
Thanks, everyone.